Well, good afternoon to you joining us for this afternoon's session as part of the European Research Day. We are here in Singapore currently. My name is Susanne Renzo-Vaso. I am the regional representative of ERASMUS ASEAN, and I hope you've been joining us for some of the previous sessions as well. What we're doing this week is really to give you information about opportunities to further your academic career in Europe. And today's session is focusing on a very famous program, which I'm sure most of you will have heard about, is Erasmus+. And it's really an opportunity for mobility to Europe, but it also offers opportunities for institutional collaborations. It also offers opportunities for you to teach on Erasmus program. So really lots of information for you to take your research career a step further. We have two panelists with us today. I'll introduce them to you briefly. We have with us Adrian Veale. He is with the Directorate General Education and Culture, EAC, at the European Commission in Brussels, and he is the man for you to talk about the ins and outs of the Erasmus Plus project. Hi, Adrian. And we also have with us a young lady called Ms Bee See Yuen, and she is actually the representative or the ambassador for the Erasmus Mundus Alumni Association in Malaysia. She herself took part, as she is a graduate of an Erasmus Mundus master's program. I think it was in engineering some time ago, but she is the lady to also tell you about the Alumni Association, and that of course is a good way to start if you want to find out, you know, how did other people benefit from the program before me and what kind of advice can they share with me. Before I invite the panelists to speak, I want to briefly introduce you to EURAXIS, which is of course the program that I am representing, as I said, and I'd like to just showcase this to you because it is a fabulous information and support tool for young researchers that are trying to find information about the opportunities in Europe to advance your research career. EURAXIS is a project that is funded by the European Commission, but importantly, it is supported by 36 countries across Europe. So these countries are dedicated to eradicating the obstacles that make it difficult for people to move around and to collaborate with each other. Now, how do we do this? We have a virtual platform that puts in one convenient place all the information that you need to know to further your career. A key part of this is, of course, the job and funding portal, where you will find thousands of opportunities, be it research positions within academic institution, fellowships, but also opportunities from companies to spend some time of your academic career in Europe. We have also a partnering tool, which is a database where you find offers from academic institutions across Europe to invite researchers like yourselves to apply, for example, for fellowships that they have available, for PhD positions that they're offering at their departments. We also have a hosting database, once again, a wonderful opportunity to find a potential supervisor. Often, as you know, if you apply for a fellowship, the onus is on you as the applicant to find a supervisor at a host institution in Europe. And I know for junior researchers, this is daunting at times because your network might not be as extensive yet. This is where the hosting database is very handy because it provides you information about institutions that are actively looking to host researchers. The EURAXIS database also contains a lot of information, really all information you need to know when you're planning to move to Europe. Maybe as an Erasmus Mundus scholar, you'd like to know what kind of visa you need to apply for, what kind of housing you could find, what kind of insurance you may need. And to top it off, we have this network of EURAXIS service centers across Europe, where we have offices that are helping you make this move to Europe as easy as possible, not just for you as the grantee, for example, if you get a fellowship, but also for your family that might accompany you to your job in Europe. As I said, I am the regional representative of ERASMUS ASEAN. I am based in Singapore permanently, and you can always get in touch with me if you need any additional information. And I invite you to just scan this handy QR code here at the bottom to access our website so that you can find information about other activities that we are doing for you, the research community in Malaysia and of course across Southeast Asia. One of them is a workshop that we are hosting next week on the 30th of September. This is part of our career development series. What we're trying to do is really help you advance your research career, help you gain a global footprint so that other people across the world find you, identify you as a potential collaborator. So this is about how to communicate your research results at a conference, how to use social media tools to make sure that your research gets, the visibility that it deserves. With this, I will stop sharing my screen and I will invite instead Adrian to start his presentation on the Erasmus Plus program. So Adrian, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Susanna. Let me just share my presentation. Good afternoon, everybody in Malaysia. It's morning here in Brussels, a sunny morning for once. As Susanna pointed out, I work in the international unit of the part of the Commission that manages the Erasmus program. So I'm trying to explain how these opportunities of mobility, student exchange, student degree programs, or university collaboration are open to individuals or organizations from Malaysia, but mainly focusing on the opportunities for you, perhaps looking for an international study or research opportunity in Europe. So Erasmus Plus is a big program. It's one of the European Union's flagship programs. It impacts on hundreds of thousands of people every year. And it supports programs, projects, scholarships in a number of areas, primarily education, and within the education sector, mainly higher education. Certainly when it comes to the international opportunities, these are for academics, students and researchers. And as I said, it has quite a long history. It's about 32 years old now. But it's recently that it has taken on a much more international dimension. Now, international mobility, I think in general, we can say that international mobility is a good thing to have on your CV. It's something that employers recognize the importance of it. It brings with it many of the academic benefits that you would expect from high quality higher education in Europe, but it also brings with it something that's a bit more fuzzy, a bit more difficult to describe and quantify, but it brings with it very important intercultural skills, linguistic skills, global skills, if you like, and these are the sort of skills that employers are looking for, and they're the sorts of skills that you will need in your future careers. I'm sure that See Yuen will talk more about that and how she experienced that during her time in Europe. So I'm here principally to talk about two sorts of scholarship opportunities. I'll say a little bit more about other opportunities later on, but Erasmus Plus offers two sorts of scholarships. One is for classic exchange students. So you're studying in Malaysia, and your university can send you to Europe for, let's say, 6 months as part of your program, and you come back. The credits that you gain in Europe count towards your degree back in Malaysia. We call that international credit mobility. The other type is a scholarship for a full master's degree program, usually 2 years, where you'll study in 2 or even more European universities. So I'm going to talk about both of those, how they work and how you apply. So if we start with international credit mobility, the important thing to bear in mind with this is that it's based on an agreement. So a European university, let's say a French or an Italian university, will have an agreement with a Malaysian university. These agreements are selected through projects. Every year we select new projects, new agreements are set up between Europe and Malaysia, and those 2 universities agree on a program for exchange. Now that's for the students, and it's also for the staff within those institutions. So the first thing to check, if you're interested in this, is whether your university has one of these Erasmus Plus agreements with a university in Europe. And if that's the case, ask your international relations office probably. They'll be able to tell you which university you can go to, which faculties are covered by this agreement, because in many cases the universities agree we will use this mobility, we'll use these scholarships in a particular faculty as part of our university's international strategy. So find out if your university has one of those agreements. For your studies, these can be at bachelor level, master level, doctoral level as well. As I said, they're also open to staff. So maybe if you are already on the staff of a university and you're interested in research, you can access one of these grants to work in an academic role, or as part of the administration, if you like, of this exchange system. So teaching or administrative role in those. If you're studying, it can be for 3 to 12 months. Very few of these partnerships also offer traineeships for study level mobility. And then the staff mobility is much shorter. It can be for as little as 2 weeks up to 2 months. It's generally a teaching or administrative assignment. And the scholarship, you ask, well, the scholarship covers the cost of your travel to and from Europe, and it provides a living grant, a subsistence grant that's linked to the country in which you're studying. So if you go to an expensive country like Sweden, you will get slightly more than if you go to a less expensive country like Romania. I mean, this is how it works in practice. I have an example of a Malaysian student, Pavitira, who went, I hope I pronounced that right, who went from University Technical Malaysia to, which I think is in Malacca, to the Hochschule, that's a sort of a more vocational type of education institution, in Hanover in Germany. And she actually was studying engineering in Malaysia and did part of her bachelor's in Germany. So she would come back to Malaysia with those credits, and the credits for the subjects she studied in Germany count towards her degree. That's just to sort of explain it in practice how it works. So the important thing to bear in mind is these are not open to everyone. these scholarships, they are only open as part of an exchange agreement between these two universities. So find out if your university has an agreement like this, and then you can find out how they put that into practice. You know, which faculties are involved, which levels of studies are able to take part. Just to put it a little bit in perspective as well, we have it works out that every year we have about 200 of these scholarships for students and staff from Malaysia to go to Europe. Also, I should emphasize, there are about 80 or so European students and staff coming to Malaysia. So you might benefit indirectly, in a sense, from these exchange agreements. Even if you don't manage to get a chance to go to Europe, you may benefit from some of the staff who've come to Malaysia, or you may meet some of the European students who've come to study in your university. Up to now, there are about 70 different Malaysian universities involved, and together they have agreements with nearly 200 different European universities, covering almost all of the European countries that take part in Erasmus+. That's one type of opportunity. What you also have is the Erasmus Mundus Joint Master Degrees. Now, these are full degree programs. They offer a scholarship for the full duration of the Masters, which is almost always 2 academic years. What's interesting and exciting about these programs is that they are integrated programs. It's not just a study in one faculty of one university. It's a whole integrated program of studies. It's offered by a group of different universities. There are at least 3, often more, 5, 6 universities that take part in the consortium that offers this course. They are also integrated because they're very practical courses. They're courses that offer a particular skills set for the graduate. So they are not perhaps a classic study choice, for example, law or philosophy or bioscience. They often bring together expertise and teaching from different faculties. So the idea, for example, may be to provide a degree program in marine environment, and that brings together faculties from the life sciences side, from perhaps the planning side. Some integrate IT into the management of the skills that they're developing. So they cross borders, they cross national borders, but they often cross faculty borders as well. We now have about 150 of these joint masters. That's a little slide that should move, but in this format it's not moving, but it's to give you a little taste for the range of different subjects that there are. We don't set subjects for this for Erasmus Mundus. We choose the best programs that apply to be part of Erasmus every year. What we find is that there are about a third are humanities, humanities and social sciences, about a third are hard sciences, and about a third are life sciences. That just seems to happen organically, if you like, when we make the selection every year. What we also have, I mean, you're here because you have perhaps a particular interest in research. We also have a mix of objectives within these courses. Some are much more about much more vocational, if you like. They are training their graduates to play a specific role as a practitioner, as an administrator, as a decision maker in policy. Some, though, are much more research focused. You will see that the ideal graduate of a program sometimes is a practitioner in a particular field. Sometimes it's a researcher who is ready to go on to do more research in the academic sector or in the applied research sector. So you'll find all sorts there. Here's an example of another Malaysian student, Norhaza, who is currently studying. She started her joint masters in a program called NOAA. It's about international humanitarian action, and she did her first year in Warsaw, and then she's now starting her second year, and that will be split between two of the other universities that you see on the list. So it's in Bilbao in Spain, and we have Stockholm involved. There are, depending on the modules that she chooses as part of her program, she will study in different European countries. This is a much more open program, if you like. You look at the list of master's courses. We have about 150 of these, or we will have. We will finalize the listing on the website. There's a link, a sort of abbreviated link on this slide that you can see. I'll put that perhaps in the chat later on as well. Look at the list of programs that there are, and in the autumn of each year, so starting quite soon, probably next month, those programs will open up the application procedure to students. So everything will happen online. If you go to the website of the specific program that interests you, you'll find everything about the content of the program, the entry requirements, what former studies will you need, maybe what languages will you need. Primarily 90% is in English, but some of the courses may have modules in another European language, like French or Spanish, for example. And you will also see on the website a very clear description of the application process. So that application period will start very soon in October and go on mainly till the end of the year, slightly different between different programs. And that application process is for the programs that will start in a year's time, in fact, in September 2021. So it starts quite soon so that the decision can be made in time for students to prepare themselves academically, logistically, if you like, and also in time to make all the administrative arrangements like visas, and etc. So the place to go is the website of the program. There you'll find everything that you need to apply. The application, I mean, these programs are looking for the best students. They rank the student applications, and the best applications will get the scholarships. When I say best, I mean that is judged on a mix of things. They will check that you are eligible to follow the course. They'll look at your academic record. They'll look at your experience as well. Now, I saw a question there whether there was any age limit for these joint master degrees. No is the answer. There's no age limit because we welcome students who maybe are fresh out of their bachelor's program. The majority are, in fact, but equally we welcome people who maybe have a few years of work experience or research experience already under their belt. which they bring with them to the program. Your work or research experience can also count towards your application, your language abilities, but also what's very important is your motivation. Why are you applying for this course? Why are you the right person to follow this program? So you'll need to think carefully about the way that you present yourself as a candidate in your motivation letter, and back that up with some references, academic references, employers' references. But each program will take you through that application process, but that's just to give you a little taster, and maybe See Yuen can also mention something about how the experience of the alumni of these programs can help you with that. As I said, 90% of these are international programs. What's happening in Europe, or what has been happening for a number of years now, is that universities throughout Europe are adopting a much more international attitude towards the studies that they offer. So partly through European Erasmus, but partly through their international strategy, they are offering, particularly at master's level, they are offering many courses in English. But check, because I mean, if you're studying a course in French and German philosophy, there is one, you probably will need some French or German to study that. So depending on the program, have a look. If you are successful, then yes, there will be a number of things that you'll have to do. Again, these Erasmus Mundus programs are selected because they are very student-centered. And this is actually quite common to European higher education as a whole. To take part in Erasmus as a university, you need to have a charter, and that charter actually commits the university to a number of ways of working, and one of those is to be very much centered on the student's needs. It means having the right sort of hosting arrangements. So a lot of what you will need administratively to come to Europe will be explained by the program to which you're applying. What you should also know is that there are a number of a number of organizations who will be there to help you when you arrive. Like Susanna mentioned, EURACSES is there to help researchers. We have also inside Europe, Erasmus Mundus students have the Erasmus Mundus Association. And I would encourage you, if you are applying for Erasmus Mundus, to look at the advice you can get from Emma before you go, and very much encourage you to sign up when you've been selected as a student. What you'll also find in nearly every European university is a branch of the Erasmus Student Network, ESN, as we call it, and they have actually been set up to create links between mobile students. So they will have a sort of welcome system. They can help you with the practical aspects of arriving in a strange country. They often have a sort of buddy system, which can make life easier when you first arrive. I've been talking a lot about Erasmus Plus. I would also say that Erasmus Plus provides opportunities, scholarships, but there are lots of other opportunities, higher education opportunities in Europe. We try to bring these together in the Study in Europe portal that's on our on the European Union's website, Europa. There is also a useful, this is not a European project, but there's a useful portal called Scholarship Portal, which can also help you see the wide variety and scope of academic opportunities that there are in Europe. So if you fancy having a wider look, you should look at those two. And then a word about the current situation and the future, just before I finish. You'll be aware that the whole world is in the grip of a pandemic with the coronavirus, the COVID-19, and this is true for Europe, and it's true for Europe's education sector. What each university is doing is working in a range of different realities. Different countries have different ways of coping with the pandemic. Different universities have strategies, but what I can say is that each university has a strategy. They are working hard to offer studies and international studies that are safe. So priority one of European universities is to be safe. If it's not safe to have classic face-to-face lessons, they won't give face-to-face lessons. So things are going to be different this academic year that is just starting. We'll see how long that lasts, how long that needs to last. But health of students and staff is the main priority in those arrangements. But the second priority is to try and ensure that nobody misses out on their study opportunities. So we're seeing new blends of learning, online plus face-to-face, sometimes online being a temporary replacement for classic learning. We're seeing some new timetables as well. Some courses may be starting slightly later than they would otherwise. But in those, in these uncertain times, you can be sure that universities are doing what they can to offer that international study experience as much as they can in the current situation. Something that you might also like to look at is there's a link at the bottom of that slide about a series of online learning resources. If you think that this year you would like to experiment a little bit with European higher education, you can perhaps look at this list of MOOCs and other online resources to see what's available in a sort of digital format from those European universities. And then looking ahead, perhaps a less gloomy note, but for the future, the news is we are coming, you'll probably know that the current Erasmus program ends at the end of this year. That coincides with the European Union's entire programming and budget cycle. But you can be assured that there will be a new program. It's almost ready to be launched. That will run from 2021 to 2027. The budget will be bigger. We don't finally know exactly how much bigger it will be for the international side, but there will be more of the same. So don't worry, these opportunities I've talked about, the credit mobility, the joint master degrees, will continue in 2021, and we'll see the launch of the new program in the last months of this year, or possibly early 2021. So these opportunities that I've just described will continue in the new program, so that you don't need to worry about that, and you can take your time and look at what is on offer in the now and in the future. So here's some links for where to look at for more information about those opportunities. And I'll also put there the link of Erasmus Mundus Students and Alumni Association. And I'm going to stop talking now and hand over the floor to See Yuen, who has studied one of these Erasmus Mundus programs in Europe and she can tell you about her experience and also about the role that this Erasmus Mundus Association can play in helping you before you apply and also during your study program. So I'm going to hand over.
Thank you so much, Adrian. A very clear presentation. And before we hand over to See Yuen, we will have question and answer time at the end. I've seen a lot of the questions that you've posted have already been answered by Adrian, but don't worry, we will also share the slides and we will share the recording of this webinar. I know some of you had IT issues, but you will have a copy of this in a couple of days and then you can look at it again. But as Adrian said, the alumni organization is of course a great source of information to hear from your peers how they benefited from this program. And with this, I will invite See Yuen to share her slides.
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, we see your slides, it's all perfect.
Okay, so I would like to close this. Hi, good afternoon everybody, and thank you Susanna for inviting me to be one of the panelists for today. And also as what has Adrian discussed, very detailed and information has given and probably overlap a little bit with the information I may be presenting. As we are actually trying to present Erasmus Mundus students and alumni associations, as I'm part of them, I would like to also introduce my journey where I was in with Erasmus Mundus program. So okay, my journey started from the year of 2008 until 2006. Actually, I got a scholarship offer from the European Commission in 2006, and the master's course is more on the scientific area, which is called the Masters in Energy Storage and Conversion, and it is related to sort of like nanotechnology for battery type of technology. And my first semester was based in France, and just for information, before I actually traveled to France, we actually gather a whole group of Malaysians when we actually accepted the offer that travel from different parts of the world, even from Thailand, from Taiwan. We actually linked to each other. In fact, the European delegation in Malaysia and in other countries, they will share the information of each delegates who will be coming from different countries into the different courses. So we actually have the advantage of making sure we are all in the same page. So what we did was we gathered everybody to come at the same time and meet at in Marseille, France. Actually, not in Marseille. We actually met in France back in at the one of the what's it called? One of the main city in France. So, and then we dispersed off to Marseille, and some of them was in Toulouse. So my first semester was in France, and then because of the course itself, is very diverse, and we can actually select for our second semester where we want to go next. And I managed to select Warsaw University of Technology in Poland for my second semester. And subsequently, I also applied for an internship in Max Planck Institute, Stuttgart, for 2 months, where I did some research for one of the PhD there. And then I continue my journey on the third semester, whereby the University of Córdoba, Spain. And lastly, I did my research in United Kingdom at the Kent University, located at Canterbury. So this is my whole journey. It takes like 2 years, as what Adrian has mentioned. This is one of the program where it's a full course, 2 years Erasmus Mundus joint master's degree. So if you apply for this scholarship, you are required to be in Europe for the full 2 years, and then you will finish off after that. So I just want to explain just a little bit, probably in a nutshell, because this Erasmus Mundus, what is this Erasmus Mundus and how it relates to Erasmus Plus? As Adrian has already explained quite detailed earlier. So Erasmus Mundus was an education cooperation and mobility program of the European Commission, and it was already since 2006 until 2013, where they changed to Erasmus Plus, where they compile and combine all the different like the Jean Monnet activities, where we have the key action 1, 2, 3, and sports. They consolidated into Erasmus Plus, and Erasmus Mundus is actually parked under the key action 1, learning mobility of individuals. So if any of you are interested to find out more on what are the courses available, you can actually search on the Erasmus EMJMD, whereby it is under the European Commission website. And for the main of these Erasmus Mundus joint master's degrees, the main aims, actually the education is of high quality, innovation and excellence. Of course, internationalization is very much there, because all of us are coming from a diverse background, joined together into a research and innovation background. And of course, after the course, we are considered competence and skills are matchable to the international skills, and the employability are much higher for master's graduates. And the attractiveness of European higher education, this program introduced many of the different countries in Europe that we can actually go for their higher education and their attractiveness in terms of their research and innovation. And when we come out from the studies, there are a lot of opportunity in terms of the labor market, the availability for us to search for different range of jobs are there. And the joiners, what is mentioned here is the high level of course integration. In fact, I would say that this is like a gap between where you actually have your course and when you have your employability. So this course actually will help to enhance your possibility of getting a vast and diverse kind of opportunity out there. And in fact, it's not only in your own country, you can actually explore much more further in Europe or any other countries with your kind of a master's degree. And there are actually over 285 Erasmus Mundus masters and doctoral programs. And up to date, there have been around 20,000 students from over 190 countries involved, and 300 participating universities globally. And the success rate, this is actually done by one of our past president in Erasmus Mundus Association. The scholarship applicants is very competitive in comparison to other well-known programs like the Fulbright. The scholarship applicant success rate is 15%, which is already considered quite low. But for our Erasmus Mundus program, it's nearly 5%. It's even much more competitive. And the opportunities for students. So if you wonder what kind of opportunities you get from this, is you will get the top academic expertise and specialization options from the European universities, the unique mobility experience recognized with joint and multiple degree combined with different universities, full scholarships with attractive financial envelope. And of course, this is because of the keys being developed, you will have high employability. And when you are actually doing the studies, if you have any issue, you will always be supported by consortium partners and the Erasmus Mundus Students and Alumni Association. And this brings me to why EMA actually was established. So EMA was established in 2006. If you want to know more about what the events that we are going to organize and the past events, you can go to this link here, www.ema.eu. For the members, actually these are for members of students who are actually students of Erasmus Mundus Masters and PhD programs, as well as the graduates like myself, the alumni. So we have 11,000 plus members across 170 plus countries. This is considered one of the world's biggest culturally and interdisciplinary diverse student and alumni organizations. So just 5 years ago, we became legal in 2015 as one of the non-profit NGO based in Brussels, and we named ourselves EMA AISPL, and they are only volunteer driven. If you are interested to volunteer, there's a possibility, even though if you are from EMA or you are actually volunteer who is interested to be a part of it, you are given a chance. Just need to reach out to us. But this is a no paid position, but you get some kind of a training if you join us. And you can, this EMA actually partners quite well with Erasmus Student Network, Oceans Network, Garage Erasmus, as well as many other associations that is in Europe currently. So we are actually working to get more and more partners so that we will have a diverse network over the years that we can establish. And as we can see here, recently, due to the pandemic of COVID-19, we actually held, instead of a yearly face-to-face General Assembly meeting, we actually organized a virtual General Assembly, which is in May 2020. So we actually managed to gather quite a number of participants, and this covers even more possibility for the people who are not able to travel. So with this, we actually can do much more. We would say that it's very successful for this year to do this virtual general for the first time. And the objectives of EMA. So we intend to spread awareness about the Erasmus Mundus program as well as Erasmus Plus. If we can, we will have our footprint throughout the whole globe if possible, and we would like to create mutual understanding between nations and cultures, because if you see in this picture here, there are so many countries. That could be like maybe each one of them are from different countries, so it is a very, very diverse kind of a culture when you actually join EMA, and also if you are in the Erasmus Mundus program. So to promote excellence in the Erasmus Mundus and Erasmus Plus, as well as European education in general. So EMA as well engage and connect members to enhance positive impact locally through 12 regional chapters. But this has already been probably a little bit changed recently, may have been managed in a different way. And then we also create space for dialogue on quality of higher education and between EMA members and policy makers, and contribute to the improvements in current policies. We also offer learning and professional opportunities to members. We have internal network, professional network. You can actually join these networks you don't have to be physically, you only have to spend maybe every week couple of hours to join and discuss with different members about different topics that you're interested in, and you can actually engage and learn how specific projects can be managed, and you can actually put in different kind of ideas you are interested to lead. A project is also possible. There are many ways, and you can actually get to know so many people you can connect to. And of course, EMMA is to support members before, during, and after the completing of their studies through Erasmus. We actually support and help to those who are really new, who actually got offered a scholarship from Erasmus Mundus and they are not sure what to do and what they have some issue. We are here actually to support whichever possible. So we always encourage those who already have entered and received the scholarship to quickly register themselves into EMMA so that they can benefit from all the opportunities of making sure that they have prepared well ahead of what they need to do and what they need to bring when they enter different countries with different cultures. And this is the EMMA structure, which is recently restructured. So they are the steering committee, and also with the support of the SR board, which is one of the board where it is comprised of the ESN, the Garage Erasmus, and some other board which manage and try to gather different projects and see how the different organizations can connect. And the groups here is, you can see 4 groups, students and alumni relations, whereby we support the students and alumni related matters, policy and quality assurance, making sure that the education, that the assurance, we actually do graduate impact studies, a questionnaire and all that, to make sure we have the input from students who have already graduated and see if there's any comments and improvements in terms of the course that is available or has already attended. We also have this outreach and capacity building group, whereby this is to increase the professionalism and the projects that is going to be created throughout the years. And if you were to be interested in various kind of topics, you can actually come join into this group. And the last one will be research and innovations. This is rather new, so I'm not quite familiar with this portion here probably. They are actually, in fact, our website is in the process of revamping into a new look and new information. So look out for the new outlook of that soon, I guess, in these couple of weeks.
And I'm sorry for interrupting. We have to come to an end with the presentation, otherwise we don't have a time for the Q&A. Could you just maybe just say like a final word? Thank you.
All right, sure. So I think I have mentioned some of these activities earlier, like pre-departure, and then course quality survey, graduate impact, and degree recognition. So all these you can actually find later part when I send it to all of you, the slides. And these are the social media, if you're interested to look on. This will be available on the slides later. And Susanna, should I send, this is only like about 2 minutes. It will be interesting for them to have a look from perspective from other students. Is that okay?
If it's 2 minutes, sure. Yeah, let's do it. Thank you.
Okay. I'm just going to show you one of the sharing that is done by the Erasmus Mundus Association, if you're interested to join as a partner or as a member as well.
Is ERASMUS Students and Alumni Association. For me, EMA represents a community of international members from over 170 countries that have studied in many different fields in Europe and abroad, in fields of excellence that are innovative because they're multidisciplinary and because they connect institutions throughout Europe to provide what no one institution can provide by itself.
For the members of Erasmus Mundus Association and Erasmus Mundus students are the highly motivated and ambitious students. Those are the students who are not afraid to get out of their comfort zone, the students who are not afraid to explore different cultures, different traditions.
EMA can offer three distinct things. One, it offers contact to individuals of high academic quality that are very competitive in their fields, and this is unique to most of the degrees you have in Europe. Two, it offers this in an international landscape. There are over 170 countries that are members of Erasmus Mundus Student Alumni Association. This means that any partnership has international breadth when it comes to possible implementation of impact. Third, and this is specifically what I do within EMA, connects to research on quality of higher education institutions within the European landscape. And we can provide tools for policymakers, for NGOs, for governments to improve their educational systems and to impact their possibility for reaching out to international students.
Well, thank you so much. That was another very interesting presentation from See Yuen, and I'm sure she will be available for additional questions.
Thank you so much.
We have received a few questions. We don't have so much time left, but I'd like to just ask some of them. A lot of them have already been answered. There were questions about what Erasmus Mundus programs are available, and Adrian has already shared the database. Of course, you will have to look through this yourself and find the one that applies to you. We've heard about the requirements for English language. Of course, this is also specific to the program that you're interested in. There were a few questions that I thought might be interesting for all of us. One of them being, if you've already benefited from an Erasmus program or scholarship, would you be eligible for another one? Sorry, Adrian, I can't hear you. Just give me a second. You are muted. There you go. So can you unmute yourself?
Okay,
yeah, there you
thank you. Yes, it works like this. If you can't have two Erasmus grants for the same sort of mobility, but you could, for example, have taken part in international credit mobility at bachelor's level, and then you would still be eligible to receive a scholarship for a master's program under Erasmus Mundus, because it's a different type of scholarship and it's a different academic level. So for that example, you wouldn't be prevented from applying to Erasmus Mundus, no.
Thank you very much. And there is a question, of course, also that refers to the Erasmus Mobility Grant. So if someone is not a Malaysian student of a different nationality, but enrolled at a Malaysian university that has an agreement with a university partner organization, are they still eligible for this fellowship, for this grant?
Yes, that's a principle that already exists in Europe, where it's the university where you are registered that counts. So it doesn't exclude you if, for example, you are a Singaporean or I don't know, a Thai student at a Malaysian university. You would still be eligible to take part in that university's mobility program. Yes.
Thank you. And then there's a question probably that CUN can help with. There's a question whether there is a database somewhere where the audience can look which Malaysian institutions have these agreements with European University. Would the alumni chapter maybe have access to something like this?
I mean, in fact, well, sorry, I'm sort of jumping in, but we have lists of these universities. We could send a list of perhaps to Susanna to share with the people, the participants in this webinar. Yes, but it's not something that we put online. We don't have an overview list because in fact we think that the channel to take is that you go to you should be aware of the opportunities through your own university and your international relations office. But we can share a list through Susanna, I think, yes.
CUN, do you have some additional comment here maybe?
These are really specific database which we only cover members, like the students' information, and if they have you know, what course they have registered and they have graduated in what year and what they are currently doing. That's all. We're all related to members of the past and the current students. Yeah.
Thank you. I think what Adrian said, of course, maybe the information can be shared with us, but I agree that you should consult with the International Relations Office at your home institution and find out which partnership agreements they have with European universities. And I'm sure they could probably also put you in touch with fellow students that have benefited from this program for some advice. Adrian, I have a final question for you. There is, of course, a lot more opportunities under the Erasmus Plus program, one of them being capacity building and higher education. And I know there's not a lot of time, but maybe you can just sketch out a little bit what this is and where interested participants can find information about this aspect of Erasmus Plus.
Yes, capacity building projects are a different sort of cooperation that we have with Malaysia and other countries. They don't cover exchange or mobility of students or staff. What they do is they bring together partnerships of European universities and universities from Asia, sometimes single country projects for Malaysia, sometimes wider projects for Southeast Asia, for example, and those partnerships work together. Many of them work together on developing new curricula that meet the country's needs, but some work more horizontally, if you like, within the universities to improve or increase capacities, for example, research capacities, digitalization, and the links of the university with the world of work, quality assurance. So these are either to build capacities in individual universities or to develop a certain sector of higher education in a particular country or region. I can also send a link to a list of these projects because we have, for every project that we fund under Erasmus Plus, we have a reference on what we call our project results platform, where you can see the structure of the project and the outputs. I mean, what that project has produced, because that's the whole idea, that we share results among a wider group.
Thank you so much, Adrian. I think this is a great idea. We can add some information to the presentation slides that we will be sharing after this session, specifically on capacity building and higher education. Of course, ERASMUS ASEAN has information on this on our website as well, and we will make sure to channel this to you, that if you have follow-up questions, maybe you can either get in touch with me first, and then maybe with Adrian if it's more specific information that you're after. I think this brings us to the end of this session. We've heard that there are opportunities for short-term kind of mobility attachments as part of your degree course in Malaysia or somewhere else in Southeast Asia. And of course, we have the Erasmus Mundus master's programs. A lot of them, I know some of you are asking for programs in your specific field, and I'm certain you will find something. Just look at the database that we will be sharing after the session. Just as some positive information, I think last week it was announced that over 200 applicants across ASEAN were successful. They received a Erasmus Mundus scholarship for the current academic year. No, the next academic year, I guess, so the one that's starting, so which is great news. And of course, this is a competitive program, but I always say, because it is so prestigious and competitive, that should be an inspiration for you to try even harder to be among the pool of grantees in the next round. I think with this, I would like to thank our two speakers, Adrian and Su Yuen, for their time. We will share once again the presentation, we will share the slides, and if you do have any follow-up questions, just email us and we'll be able to help you. So with this, thank you so much. I wish you all a wonderful rest of the day, and we'll hope to see you in Europe soon. Goodbye.
Yes, goodbye, and good luck with the application.
Thank you. Goodbye, Adrian.
Goodbye.